This is such a nice little road. I have no idea where I'm going. Not a clue. Never been out here in my life. But it's nice and twisty. Here we are, folks. Here we are. You asked for it. Part 2 of the KTM Super Duke 1290R review. I don't really know what else I'm going to say about it that I didn't say the first time, but man, you guys liked it. You guys were down with the KTM. Really, I mean, if you get bored, and I mean bored, really bored, go on my channel and look at how many people have watched the KTM review, the first one, compared to all the other videos that I've ever done. Maybe, and I'm not cocky, I don't think it's me. I think it's the bike. People like this bike. So, because you my audience, you are my favorite people, we're gonna ride it again. And let's be honest, it is not a big ask for me to come ride this thing again. It's so cool to get to ride this bike. I mean, it's such a rare bike. Nathan, the owner, and I were talking before I started riding it, and we were talking about just the ridiculous success of the first video, and really all I can come up with is that people just don't get to see this bike. You know, it could be anybody. It could be Joe Rogan reviewing this bike, and you guys, or that's a bad example because everyone would watch it if Joe Rogan was riding it, but I really feel like pretty much anybody could review this bike and the video would do well. And so me being a hopefully up and coming YouTuber, I will shamelessly cater my content to what the audience wants, which is more throttle. So you guys enjoyed the video, so we're gonna do it again. So here we are, back on the KTM, which is really cool of you. Like, that's like, I can't really think of a good example, but you know, for me to do something that I enjoy this much, and for you guys to enjoy it as much as you apparently did, it's kind of cool, because all that I have to do then is just go out and ride it again. And I assume if you guys liked the first one, hopefully you like the second one, even though I don't really know what else to say about it. Now, one thing that we didn't really discuss the first time that I was riding it was, and this is something Nathan was showing me, I don't know if you can see it, but here we have the drive mode, which is cool, or drive mod, which is even cooler. And you have sport, street, and rain. And what he was telling me is actually, because what you're doing if you switch these, you're switching between like traction control modes and power modes. I think maybe it's just power, but you're switching between modes on the bike. And Nathan was explaining to me that you can actually really, sharp turn, you can really tell when you switch between modes. And we're not really going to mess with it. I don't want to like mess something up and then not know how to put it back, so we're just going to leave it alone. But this bike is so far advanced, especially compared to the bikes of just a few years earlier. This is a 15, mine's an 03, and this is light years ahead of it as far as technology goes, because you put on a gear indicator. Good job, KTM. Honda, where you at? Where you at, Honda? Road, you let me down just as I was starting to brag about you. Road, whatever road I'm on, I was so sold on this road. You're messing up my KTM review. Why'd you got to turn it to gravel? So if you missed the first part of this KTM review, let me catch you up to speed on what we're riding. We are riding a 2015 KTM Super Duke 1290R, which, if you're unfamiliar, is a upright, naked, that means no fairing sport bike, that has a 1301cc V-twin, making over, as far as I know, over 170 horsepower. It is an animal. I want to say it's probably faster than my bike. My CBR 954, a double aw. Don't forget the two aw's. not entertained. I think that was the biggest complaint from the first review, is people just wanted more throttle. More fast. Make more fast. More fast. So, yeah, 2015 KTM Super Duke 1290R, 1301cc V-twin, big Brembo brakes front and rear. It's got 3 drive modes, sport, street, and rain, with rain cutting the bike down to about 100 horsepower, I think. It's pretty limiting, which is what you would want on a bike like this in the rain. It's super comfortable if you've ever ridden a sport bike. This is much more like riding a lawn chair. It's nice and upright. There's really nothing between your legs and the engine. It's just kind of an exposed frame, which the frame is painted that really cool KTM orange. These bikes retail new for $17,000, $18,000. I'm sure you could find them used for less than that. The owner of this bike, Nathan, he is just a cool dude. Like, I didn't really even have to bribe him. He's big into motovlogging, just like I am. Hence the Sub D and the EN187 stickers and the Sub D keychain. So he's a big motovlogging guy, and when I said I wanted to ride it, I was like, hey, can I ride your $17,000 motorcycle that is your baby, your whole world, and everything that you love? And he goes, yeah, I'll even put gas in it. I'm like, oh, right, man. Awesome. So this is not the first, but the second time we're reviewing it, and yeah, I love this bike. I have nothing to say. The first time I rode it, I was so scared of it that I didn't play with it too much, so we're gonna play a little bit more today. And this video, honestly, this video might just be gratuitous shots of me opening the throttle. That might be all you get. But apparently that's all anybody wanted, so here you go. Man, this thing rips. It rips so hard. He even warned me. He's like, really don't do that in first and second. He's like, kind of wait till third to really get into it. And it's super comfortable. Like, if you didn't watch the first video, one of the biggest things I noticed about this bike was that at speed, so we're going 64 miles an hour right now. By the way, this is all in kilometers, so don't pay attention to any number you see here. It feels slow. It feels like you're going much slower than you are, and maybe it's just because it's so comfortable and stable. It's a very mellow experience if you want it to be. It's super laid back. It's a very easy bike to ride. Like, as fast as it is, I wouldn't hesitate to go get groceries on it. Fourth gear. That was still not full throttle. I want everyone to understand that that was still not full throttle. That was maybe over half, just over half. It is such a phenomenally quick bike. It is so fast. If you rip on it, it just yanks. It's so fast. And you would think that being upright when you rip on the throttle that it's gonna like pull you off the bike, and you're definitely holding on, but it doesn't. You don't feel like you're about to come off the bike either. It's a pretty good balance. Yeah, this bike is just one of my favorite things in the world. I really, really, really like this bike. And what's really interesting, because just last week you might have seen me ride that Yamaha FZ1, which is 300cc smaller than this bike. So that one's a 4-cylinder, it's like 998 cc's. This one is a 2-cylinder, it's 1301 cc's. And what's really interesting is, like, 300 cc's is not a small difference. If you've ever ridden bike, you know the 300 cc's can be a night and day difference between the bikes. And what's funny is, in certain ways, this feels much different from the FZ1, and then in other ways it feels really familiar, or really similar. And like, I guess where it feels similar is the FZ1 and this, from 8,000 RPM and up, probably pull pretty similarly. I think it's everything below 8,000 RPM is where it's much different. This V-twin makes torque so early on, and I haven't like gotten as nerdy as to like look at dyno graphs and stuff like that, but I can if you want me to. But it just feels like this V-twin wants to pull much earlier on. Hey, I touched full throttle. Yay, we can all go home now. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to blur stuff. That's gonna be important. If I'm gonna keep riding this bike, I gotta learn how to blur out stuff like the speedometer, for sure. I guess the only thing left to do with this bike, now that I've gotten to ride it a couple times, is do a couple Sunday sit-downs, because I like doing Sunday sit-downs, and, you know, even if nobody watches them, I'm doing them, because I like them.